Welcome back to She Holds Her Keys, where we talk about motherhood, entrepreneurship, and everything in between while juggling everything in life. Today's guest is someone who has been an incredible inspiration and has had an impact on me and my family, but not only on our journey, but on countless other lives out there. He has purchased over 300 properties, raised more than $40 million of private capital, and coached numerous students, and he has become one of the most results driven coaches in real estate in Canada. But beyond the deals and the numbers and the success, he's a husband, he's a father, and he's someone who genuinely cares about helping others create freedom. Please help me welcome my mentor, Ben Humble.
Hello and hello. Thank you for having me. Excited to share and help some people.
Thank you so much for being here, Bain. We appreciate it, and we know your time is very, very valuable. So, we know all of the accomplishments, we know all the numbers, but I'd love to start at where everything began. Can you basically tell us who Ben Humble is?
Sure. Well, my real name is Benjamin Mudashan. And because most Canadians, Americans can't say that, when we come over here and we are immigrants and we leave behind our land, our culture, our language, our people, we have a chance to start fresh. And so I've developed this name, Ben Humble, because in life I've learned that if you just remain a student and if you keep pushing yourself every day, and if you focus on personal development, developing your faith, developing your business, you can truly have incredible results. And so Ben Humble is Benjamin Mureșan, with a father and mother that grew up in rural kind of Romania, where dad didn't have running water and dad is from a hamlet of maybe 20 or 30 houses. It's smaller than a village. So it's been an incredible life to be able to start off. My passion has been music and helping people. And my dad's a pastor, so we grew up in the Christian faith and
Yep.
speaking on stage and playing on stage. And so for us, it was just very natural to go and do something that involves people. And in my life, I realized at one point that music was going to be a difficult profession. And so I decided to go and solve the money problem for myself, for my family. And so real estate became my vehicle to do that. And now we get to help a lot of people. So Ben Humble is just a regular guy who started trying to figure out how to make money as an immigrant in Canada, and the oldest of 9 children, immigrants. And it's been a cool path in self-discovery, learning what I'm capable of, learning how many people I can help uplift along my own journey. So it's been humble, stay grateful, and keep pushing yourself every day. That's the message that I try to share with my students. So hungry but humble. And I believe killing the ego is such an important part of our growth process. So I'm working hard to kill the ego because let's face it, every young guy has a lot of ego. And so sometimes ego is the enemy. There's a good book out there that says that pride comes before the fall. And so I would like to kill the pride and find the answers to life. And so to do that, I think we have to have a more introspective and student like attitude. So that's been humble in a nutshell.
I couldn't have said it better. I love that answer. And you know what? I personally like being humble because Murashan, I think not a lot of people can pronounce it probably. But no, I appreciate you giving us a little glimpse of the people out there who do not know you. So I've noticed, especially in the word humble, the B is red. Is there basically a theory behind that, or does it represent something specific?
Yeah, there's some significance to that in my world. So I'll start with like there's 3 or 4 different possible meanings that I've come up with. So the first one and probably the most significant is, I believe that Christ died on the cross for us. And so the B stands for the blood of Christ and it's red because I think if you have Jesus in your life, you can accomplish everything. In fact, the good book says that I can do all things through he who strengthens me. And so the he is Christ. So I think when you're a person of faith, you live your life in such a way where everything is possible. One of my mentors used to say, they make it for someone, why not me? And that's been a resonating theme in my life. Like they make that super yacht for someone. They make that super car. They make that super mansion. They made that product for someone in this life. Why not me? And so I live with this thought that literally everything is possible. And you have people in this world like Elon Musk who are pushing the boundaries of what we believe is possible. And so if he
Hmm.
can push the boundaries, why can't we push the boundaries? Human development and human progress are just tied closely together. Think of 100 years ago, we didn't have technology and internet and things like we do today. And so the world is allowing everyday people, blue collar people, people who start with zero more and more frequently to literally create whatever we want by the end of our life. And so that's why we have so many rags to riches stories. So the blood of Christ is the first symbolic element to that. The second one is live boldly. And
Hmm.
so the B is for boldly. Like we have to be bold in what we do. If we want to achieve something incredible in life, you have to set yourself apart from the standard. And so the standard, if we look at the standard family and the standard income and the standard dynamics, a lot of North Americans, the divorce rate is high, the failure rate is high, business failure rate is high, income is low. And so the standard isn't great. So we have to make a decision to put some extra on top of ordinary and become extraordinary. And so that's going to require a level of boldness and decisiveness. And these are the characteristics I think that a man and a woman needs to develop if they truly want to do incredible things while they're here on earth. So we all have a need for human progress, and progress is what keeps us moving forward. In fact, when we stop progressing, we start dying. That's really what it is. In our business, in our mindset, in our faith, when we stop growing, we start dying. It's very hard to just live in the middle. So I think being bold allows us to constantly be in pursuit of the next challenge. And eventually, building a business is less about the dollars and cents and more about the
Hmm.
personal growth that happens as a result of challenging yourself, much like an athlete who wants to be the best. So I think you should be the best, which is what the third B stands for. Be bold and be the best. Be the best version of yourself and you will create the most impact that you can. I think all of us, there's a quote I heard a long time ago. I think it was from Erwin McManus, who said that a lot of people want to drain their potential and they want to say that I've used all my potential in life. But then if you've used all your potential, then you didn't really have as much potential as you thought you did. You
Hmm.
wanna I agree with the idea that you wanna die with tremendous potential left, which means you have pursued it so aggressively, but you'll never max out your full potential because you can do everything, literally everything through Christ who strengthens you. So I think you need to set big goals, you need to be bold, you need to have faith, and you have to decide to be the best. If not, we have a saying in our business, keep the best, leave the rest. And so I
Yes.
think you gotta be the best. You have to push yourself. And so to do that is gonna require you to do extraordinary things. And so it's okay to be weird and different. It's okay to live your life in a completely different way than other people around you because you're not trying to model what the
Hmm.
average person has. You're trying to model what extraordinary people have created. And so it sets you apart. And so the B is a differentiator. I'll put it that way. It's the secret sauce to growth.
Love that answer. And your faith is amazing. Me, myself, I'm a firm believer in God. And something we actually share is that both our dads are pastors.
Mm,
So, with that, what values from your childhood are non negotiables in your business today?
mm. Well, I have an operating system for how I live my life, and faith has allowed me to create really clear boundaries in that operating system. And so one value that I'll share is that humility value. I remember when I was a young boy, my dad would help a lot of people immigrate from Romania to Canada. And so because we were immigrants at one point, somebody helped us come to Canada and they sponsored us, etc. Have done that for so many other people. So him and my mom would have random, it seems like often strangers coming from Romania, staying at the house, being with us. And one time when I was younger, my dad, it was probably 8 or 9 in the evening, he said, "Hey, I need you to come with me. We have to go do some stuff." And so that was pretty common because my dad would always have a second job growing up. They had two jobs, part-time jobs. And so it was common for us to go out at 7, 8, 9 o'clock and go do a cleaning job or whatever. And
Mm.
so he had some bags of groceries, and we went to a house in central Windsor. And I remember looking in the bag, and there was all kinds of canned goods. And there was a can of like Bush's baked beans, the one
Eh.
with the little ham and the thing. And back then, I was like, man, I really like this Bush's baked beans. And I remember thinking, who's this for? Because if nobody wants it, I'm gonna eat these Bush's baked beans. And so we go into a house, and it was probably 9:30 by the time we get there, and it was dark, and, we walk towards the kitchen where there's only one light on, and in the living room, there's a guy who's sleeping on the couch, but he's, like, just sleeping, and he's just in his underwear sleeping, and his pants are, like, folded over the couch, and my dad, grabs a blanket that he had with us and, like, covers this man. Right? We
Mhm,
go into the kitchen and he gives there's 2 or 3 guys there, and he gives them these bags of groceries, and I come to learn that these guys had come from Romania. They have left their wives and children back home for 6 months at a time to come with a work permit to basically work and make money to send back home. And so that experience, to me, still resonates with me so deeply. Sometimes you just need to cover people. And so humility is that. Humility is knowing that sometimes like I've done a lot of things in real estate and business, and to be able to cover people with that knowledge, to be able to share that knowledge, to share that gospel, to empower people, to provide those uh bushes baked beans provision and give people some substance, to me has been such a core theme. And so humility has been such a profound thing. Every time I've run away from humility, I found pride. And when I found pride, it always kicked me in the teeth. And so I ran back towards humility. And so it really is a constant struggle of personal development to the point
mhm.
where I wear this hat as a reminder that, hey, just drop the ego, drop the pride, drop all of that unnecessary false male bravado and just do the work, be a student. And, you know, I believe that God gave us the desires of our heart. And so if I have a desire to go and do something, I believe God gave me that desire. And so if I do my part, he will do his part. And so you will have the desires of your heart if you remain in obedience of what you feel called to do. So, studying the Bible, reading things over the years, I've come to realize that everybody who tried to do it on their own always had massive, miserable failures. Everybody who said, I'm going to do this by faith and God will guide my path. I have to do my part. That to me is the answer. So that value is huge. And the second one is you got to have a level of work ethic and understanding that nothing will be given to you. Nothing was given to us in communist Romania. Free handouts are not the way to think about life. And when you have an opportunity, your job is to work harder than the person next to you to monetize the opportunity. For me, the opportunity that I have is called freedom. I have hands and feet and a voice. And sometimes people go, man, you work really, really hard. And then I think to myself, do I? Do I? Or do I just sit in front of a camera for 8 hours a day and pour into people? Like, is that really, really hard? Or was it harder when I used to clean carpets at 2 in the morning and sweating my face off? And so I think work ethic is the tool that at the beginning of your life, you're underpaid for hard labor. Eventually, later on in life, you are rewarded for that hard labor because it will set you apart from people who eventually stop working hard. It's the problem with having too much. When you have too much, you stop being hungry. And so keeping your hunger I think is a really big component of success. And so my parents always provided, but we didn't have all the snacks and we didn't have 4 kinds of cereal, right? We had what we had. And so there's always a hunger when you're younger to want to be able to go and do things. So today I have this duality between the fact that I am a multimillionaire. I can go have 5 kinds of cereal, but I choose to have 1 kind of cereal because it's a reminder to myself that, hey, man, just stay hungry. Learn how to push yourself and create more impact in the world. Challenge yourself, stay hungry, don't develop an ego. And I think that those ideologies they drive my efforts. And so I get to live the best life ever. I get to build cool things. I get to help people. I get to create income. I get to create awesome impact. And so it's the best of both worlds. And so I think I'm the luckiest guy alive.
I can agree. Definitely. You impact so many people's lives and in a good way too. Like you tell people what they need to hear, not what they want to hear, which I think is also something that a lot of people lack because they want to keep people happy and then everyone doesn't push themselves to become better at the end of the day. And I know you've mentioned that faith is also something that keeps you going as well, but what would you say have been moments where faith has carried you through a season where your logic told you to quit?
Yeah, and my definition of faith is not some artificial, ambiguous, thing where you just hope and pray and wait for things to develop for you. I believe faith is an action and it's more a verb than it is a noun in my definition.
Mm,
So faith is when you walk by faith, I think that's real bold faith. I'm not the kind of personality that sits back and waits for things to happen. And so I think that there's different definitions of faith, and whatever the word means to you is what it means to you.
mm,
That's the problem with language is that we associate different attributes to words. And so what it means to you is not what it means to me, just like the word risk. A lot of people are
yes.
afraid of risk. To me, without risk, there is no reward. So there's different ways to think about this. But for me, when I started early on, I was in this carpet cleaning phase. And so I launched a cleaning service because that's all I really knew how to do. I dropped out of music school, and that cleaning service was very beneficial to me. In fact, I believe every young person probably needs to develop and run a service based business for 5 years.
Mm,
The reason for that is it will help shape a part of your character and a part of your understanding around basic human business that I just don't think is known these days. It's completely lost on most people. How to sell, how to market, how to deal with customers, how to suck up your own ego, how to go to work, how to have a good attitude. Because in a service-based business, if you don't perform, you don't get paid. And so I remember
yes.
being in the service-based business, carpet cleaning. Fact, interesting story. So I bought a really old van because in
Mm,
the car cleaning world, I grew up, wanting to save money and whatever, and so I wasn't trying to buy a luxury van, and back then when I was in my late teens, almost 20, I bought a really old van. It was a 1994 Dodge Caravan, right? I got it
mm,
from the car auction, and then I made that my carpet cleaning van. So everywhere I go, I had the van with the sliding door, and I would drive this van around going to do carpet cleaning jobs, and I was, working almost every night, going to do cleaning jobs, and I would clean all of the things that other people didn't wanna clean. So I would clean, all the bars after the closing hours. There's beer all over the floor, and so I'm over there mopping up beer and whatever, and, I ended up getting the jobs nobody wanted, and eventually I got the jobs that some people wanted. So that's a little secret in life is to do what nobody wants to do, and then eventually you'll do what everybody wants to do. And so I
mm,
got a coveted job of cleaning Toys R Us. And Toys R Us
okay.
is a store, and so when you're a cleaner and you get more of a commercial account like Toys R Us, you're loving life. Now,
Mm,
mind you, I didn't get the job directly, I was a subcontractor for a bigger cleaning contractor, but nevertheless, I'm going to Toys R Us to clean, and so I'm like a baller in the cleaning world, right? Like everybody else is cleaning these little mom and pops, and I got a corporate account. So I go to Toys R Us, and it's 3 in the morning, and they had us wax part of Toys R Us. It was
mm,
a horrible job because you would have to wax the floors in stages because they wouldn't have enough time to dry. So you would do like this toy aisle, and then you'd come back the next night and do this toy aisle, and hopefully people didn't ruin the floors the day before. And so you're trying to basically like patch together a waxing job with Toys R Us. And I'm there at 2 in the morning. I finish my, work for the night, and I'm driving the van home, and sure enough, as I'm driving, I barely pull out of the parking lot on Howard Avenue in Windsor, Ontario, and I get pulled over by the police.
oh no.
Right. Get pulled over by the police, and the cop comes to the window and says, "So, what are you doing?" I was like, "What do you think I'm doing? I'm cleaning Toys R Us." He says, "Well, you have a van with no branding on it. It's an old van. You're a young guy, and I see you leaving Toys R Us at 2 in the morning as a young guy, and I'm wondering if you're not trying to rob the place." And I'm like, "Of course. Just my luck, right?"
Yes.
I'm over here.
Definitely.
Well, what happened was I try to save money so much at the beginning. I was like, "I'm not gonna get insurance on my van. I'm just gonna drive it, and it'll be okay." Well, he says, "Show me your proof of insurance." I didn't have any. And so what happened is I got a ticket for driving without insurance at the very beginning. Like this is in my late teens, right? Maybe
Mm,
it's like 25 years ago, more than 20. Sorry, 21, 22 years ago. Sure enough, I go to the small court, whatever. I end up paying like $3,500 to a lawyer to get me off of this, like driving without insurance. And so you can imagine what I paid in insurance for that fine and the legal fees and whatever was more than had I just got insurance on the van for the prior year, year and a half.
can imagine.
Right. And then my insurance, when I did get insurance, was $350 a month on a 94 van. So you imagine being 19, 20 years old, your insurance is 350 a month. You just paid over $3,000 in the legal bill and whatever. And so at that point, I'm like, when am I ever going to get out of this nonsense? Because I was making money one cleaning job at a time. Like every
Mm,
$100 or $200 of profit to me was a great day. It was like 200 bucks. I'm crushing it. So you can imagine how demoralizing that is. And you feel foolish. You're like, I drove without insurance. It's my own fault. But at the same time, it's like it's demoralizing. Now I have to go put 3 grand on some type of credit to go and pay this lawyer. And it was difficult at that time because I didn't have 3 grand. And so the I only had what? Faith. I only had the decision to say, I'm going to put insurance on the van. I'm going to do things the right way going forward. I'm going to go clean 10 more Home Depots, Toys R Us's, Shoppers Drug Mart, which had all three contracts. And I decided to just go work my face off to go make it up. And so sometimes when your back's against the wall and you make a bad decision and you try to cut a corner and you get busted, then you
mm,
eventually come back and you have a choice to make. Are you gonna rectify it and never put yourself in that position again? Or are you gonna quit? And so I've had moments like that where it's like, well, just quit or commit. That's
mm.
it. Quit or commit. That's it. And so I made a decision to commit. And so I did. I got the insurance. I optimized. I fixed the problem. I got the thing. And so when I was fortunate in my early 20s that I learned some lessons and I stopped cutting corners. I stopped cutting corners and I started doing the hard, tangible work required to make it successful, but only by faith. Because when you're staring at a big, ugly problem, like when you're 20 and you owe $3,500, you're like, what the heck? Or
Yeah.
how am I supposed to pay this off? What am I gonna do? I'm cleaning carpets for 80 bucks. And it's like, I'm gonna have to clean forever. And so when adversity happens, that's the moment that really your character is called into question. And so if you have made a decision and you have worked on yourself, it starts to formulate your relationship with pain. And so I think that's the greatest thing a young entrepreneur can have is a productive relationship towards pain. When things get hard, how do you get? When things get hard, do you go crazy? Do you
Mm.
get calm and focused? Do you double down? Do you quit? That's the characteristic. It's that fight or flight. And I think that
Yes.
faith is the element in that camp because if it's just you and your own strength, you're tired at 3 in the morning and you got a $3,000 bill. Like, can you imagine? When it's like, I gotta just make it happen. Tomorrow's a new day. God gave me air in my lungs. Let's go. And so you have to wake up every day and just realize that business is professional problem solving and business is personal development and business is the greatest test, I think,
Mm.
of your human achievement. You have to play in a marketplace with everyone else in the country. You have to compete. You have to be better. You have to be sharper. You have to commit and you have to sacrifice. So faith helped me get through the time of I'm a carpet cleaner. I literally went to school for music. This is not a glamorous outcome to my life. And so I had to create a narrative where if I work hard and find a better path, I got into real estate to get out of carpet cleaning. It wasn't that
Makes
I woke up
sense.
one day and I loved real estate. It was, this is a
Mm,
better path. This will create more money. And so I thought about this the other day. I used to have $100 like net income per job, $100, right?
mhm.
And it was like, if you had $100 at the end of the day or whatever, like, that was fantastic, and so it's really interesting because now my mindset is, if in real estate and our businesses, we're not doing 100 grand a month net, we're in trouble. Like, I'm
Yes.
screwing up. So you went from $100 to 100 grand, and so you can really multiply your level of economic output, and that happens when you commit, become faithful, and survive. You have to get through the obstacles.
Oh, I love that. I think like the carpet cleaning business really has helped you to be where you want to be today. Because looking back when you had the carpet cleaning company, what lessons from having that prepared you for building the real estate business?
Yeah. Well, one lesson for sure is learn how to treat people right. When you're cleaning carpets and you're making $80 a job, you
Hmm.
have to treat that customer like they're gold, even though it's 80 bucks a job. I remember cleaning a
Yes.
Chinese restaurant. I'd go in and clean this Chinese restaurant. We did it for 3 or 4 years once a month, and she would pay us $160, and by the time I paid all the material and my couple of staff that were with me, I'd be there for 4 hours. I think I would net 60 bucks, maybe 70 bucks. If you think about it, right? It's not a lot of money. You're making like
Mm,
20, $30 an hour at best. And you still
yes.
have to say, "Thank you so much. We appreciate it. I'll see you next month when you guys spill soy sauce all over the carpet again." Like, it's like you learn how to be super grateful for the little dollars, and that
Hmm.
gratitude and that level of customer service and human touch is so valuable because it's the same dynamic if you make $100,000, just like when you make $100. And so it's not the amount of money that dictates your personality and your behavior. Your behavior is going to help you dictate the amount of money that you make. There's a huge correlation between productive behavior and productive outcomes. And so I think most people sabotage their own success because they allow their lowest self, the lowest version of themselves, to come out at the wrong time. And so we have
Yes.
to work on ourselves so that we are bringing the best we have to the table, and that requires real effort. So I wake up every day thinking this thought: business is a daily fight. It really is. You have to fight your own laziness. You have to fight other people's laziness. You have to fight other people's poor personality and behavioral decisions. Like, you have to be the best person from a personality and behavior standpoint in your circle because
Yes.
there's far too much self-sabotage that happens in small business. The owners do not bring their best. They bring whatever's left over to the table, and the market will penalize you when you do that. The market only rewards people who operate with a high level of efficiency, integrity, and personality. So if you're like, well, I'm just always negative, well, then you're going to lose. Your customers don't want a negative person. Your employees don't want a negative person. So it's almost like it doesn't matter what your fears and scarcities are. You literally have to make an effort to be better every day. And you have to make an effort to bring your absolute best behavior to business. Otherwise, you're going to lose a huge competitive advantage that your competitor has who's willing to bring their best personality.
It's true. I think also, like you said, treating people right as well, it plays a huge role in every part of life as well. And you have achieved so much that a lot of people cannot say. Because I think a lot of people see, okay, you have done over 300 plus deals, you've raised over $40 million in private capital. But what nobody sees is the skill behind that. What would you say is the top one skill that you used to achieve what you have today?
I think the biggest skill we have is resiliency. And it would go hand in hand. If I get a second one, it'd be resourcefulness. So, what can you make out of a bad situation? See, we're handed bad situations all the time. In fact, I would agree that business is just a series of inconsistencies, inefficiencies, customers with a need. There's a product or a solution somewhere, and nobody's really aligned those things to help the customer. And so we have a very unresourceful world. And so when you're willing to be resourceful, so you take a little and you make a lot. That's really what it
Mm,
is. Do a lot with a little. And when you're willing to be resilient, because that is the definition of entrepreneurship, it's a level of perseverance. Every great story we hear about some successful entrepreneur, there was a level of resiliency they had to develop to overcome because nothing is granted in business, nothing is given freely. And
yes.
it's easy to compare what you don't have and to compare what somebody else does have. But at the end of the day, all of us have short seasons of high economic opportunity. We take real estate, for example. There will be seasons in real estate. Well, you will work your face off for 5, 10 years and you will make good money, but not great money. And that's a byproduct of market conditions. And then you're going to
Mm,
have times in the market when the market is just giving you deal after deal after deal. And if you were prepared to deal with it and handle it, you'll succeed. Like, you're in the Edmonton market. My brother lived in Edmonton. For years we looked at Edmonton as a flat market. Nobody's making
yes.
money in Edmonton. It's not going anywhere. But
Mm,
if you would have stayed true in Edmonton when nobody wanted deals in Edmonton, and now when Edmonton is in a growth market, you would be the beneficiary of all that experience. And so I think of it like a world-class pianist or a world-class violinist. For years, you will be unrecognized. And for years, you're going to practice in a room. And for years, you're going to have just consistent resilience and keep going at it even without recognition. Then one day you get to stand in Carnegie Hall and you have thousands of people cheering for you. Well, they're cheering for all of the effort you put in over the years because that's what it takes. So the challenge with business is that probably 99% of your life you'll be unrecognized. So you can't do it just for the recognition and the admiration because it's such a small percent of business. So I think we have to develop a different perspective over business. Do it because it's the right thing to do, not because somebody's going to worship you for doing it. Do it because it's the right thing to do. And you want to, like, you get to decide when you leave this earth, you get to decide how wealthy you were. You may not decide
Yes.
how wealthy you are when you're born, but you get to decide if you live in North America how wealthy you are. And if you're listening to this and you're saying, well, that's just not true, well, then I would challenge you that until you adjust that mindset, you're making it true. See, whatever you believe is what you're going to achieve. If you believe that success is not for you, that's literally going to happen. You're going to manufacture a life where you've never had success. If you believe that everything is available for you, if you simply make it happen, well then you're going to have progress and you'll have success.
Oh, I agree 100%. I always tell myself that it comes down to this. If you wake up in the morning and you tell yourself, this is not going to be a good day, you've already set your day, the tone for the day. If you get up and you say, you know what, today's going to be the day, it's going to be good, it's all about the mindset. And I think in real estate specifically, Ben, what I've noticed is a lot of investors are afraid to, you know, go for the deal, especially because they're thinking they have to use their own money. Now, as someone raising over $40 million, how much of that would you say came from your real estate knowledge and how much came from actually building relationships?
Let's be pragmatic here for a second. In order for us to really excel at anything in life, whether it's sports or business, there is a highest and best strategy.
Mm.
So when you operate in a poorly constructed strategy, sports, business, you're just not going to have the advantages required to win at the end of the day. So I think part of the answer to how do we fund real estate deals is strategy. Strategy is that clear path from A to B. What do I need to do in order to make it happen? And so we have to have a roadmap, a strategy that will allow us the clarity and the alignment of our goals. A lot of people want to own real estate, but because they have a poor money raising strategy, they create a tremendous amount of resistance along the path. So they can't take a highway and go from point A to point B because they've chosen to take the dirt road full of potholes. So
Mm.
strategy is, to me, at one of the highest elements of this conversation because strategy will give you visibility over what are the action steps you have to do. Once you have strategy, then you have to look at the other factors. In life, you either pay with money or you pay with time. Those are your choices, right? What are our resources in life? We have time, we have money. Those are two resources that we have. And so it's A or B. You have to choose. So what that means is you can either invest your time to develop specific skills, knowledge, and abilities, or you're going to invest your money to effectively pay somebody else who has developed those skills, knowledge, and abilities. So, do you
Yes.
have to have a lot of money to buy real estate? No. Do you need a lot of skill to substitute the economic value of the fact you don't have money? Yes. And so my skill is more expensive than my money. That's the
Mm.
reality. I have invested years into skill. So I would say to people just getting started, you have to be willing to be a master. You have to be willing to commit to the skills required to raise money. If you're not going to master the game, well, then why would you get exceptional results on anything that you don't have extreme proficiency? You wouldn't do it in cooking. You wouldn't do it in karate. You wouldn't do it in any other thing. You have to be willing to commit. What I see among grown adult real estate investors is I see a very immature attitude often of, I want to learn the bare minimum skill and the maximum output from that skill. Like
Yes.
I want to raise Ben money. So I have to, I want to do a deal with zero money down. Okay, great. I do them all the time. My students do them all the time. But for you to do that, you're going to have to commit to the skill. First, you need the knowledge. How does it even work? What's the logistics of raising money? Number two, you're going to require resources. Who are you going to raise money from? Number three, you're going to have a transaction that you can raise money against. And so, where's the deal? And number
Hmm.
four, how are you going to communicate value to that other person so that you can actually create a transaction? So, there are multiple dynamics to raising money, but we have to come to this conclusion that you're going to require skill. Without skill,
Yes.
it's not going to happen for you. It's just not going to be the case. And then I think the next element of that that's super important is everything in business is sales. Sales is influence. So you have to be able to communicate and you have to be able to articulate why the world should work with you. Why should lenders work with you? Why should sellers sell to you? Why should buyers buy from you? Like you have counterparties in business. And so if you fail to sell and you fail to influence and you fail to really learn how to educate people on the pros of working with you, well, then that's the failure. So the result is this: we have people that want to get started in real estate, and the ones that decide to commit to the skills, they get professional coaching, they buy the resources, they buy the right software, they have all of the things they need. Well, then the benefit is the more skill, the less personal money you need. If you're not going to invest in your skills and you're not going to invest in your awareness, well, then you're just going to end up investing your money or spending your money, and you're going to be called what's called a consumer investor, which is the worst place you can be. You spend your money and you end up spending your time later. Because if you're a
Yes.
consumer investor, you're really an amateur investor. And so you don't see the problems coming, like especially landlords.
Hmm.
Landlords have no idea the level of problems they're going to deal with when they've never managed rentals before. They don't know how to do leases the right way. They don't know how to screen tenants the right way. And so landlords end up hating landlording. And the truth is, you hate landlording because you're not experienced. And you're not experienced because you haven't done it and you're not
Hmm.
educated. So I think the more reasonable way to think about success in real estate is just like every other career. You have to invest time. You have to invest
Yes.
money. You have to develop connections. So there isn't a singular element that's going to help you become successful in real estate. It's a synergy between skill, between your connections, between your ability to sell, between your reputation, and at the top of all of that is your work ethic. Okay. For the person who's saying, Ben, I don't have a lot of money, but I have a lot of heart and I'm willing to work and I'm willing to learn. I have seen people quit their job in 6 months or less. I have seen people become real estate millionaires under my coaching. I have
Hmm.
become a multimillionaire. And so it's not about is it possible? It's
Yes.
will you make it possible for yourself? Right? That's the accountability of what it takes to be an entrepreneur. You have to take ownership over the outcome. And if you do that, it's absolutely doable, but you're going to have to take ownership and you're going to have to be willing to go through the motions that every other entrepreneur has gone through.
I love that. That is so true. I know you always teach us, know, like, and trust. That are the main three things. And I know that you yourself, you're a private lender as well. What will you say are the biggest red flags that make you hesitant to lend money to someone?
Sure. If somebody who's trying to raise money doesn't actually understand their deal and
Hmm.
can't clearly articulate their version of risk, that's a huge problem.
Yes.
Oftentimes, I see people trying to raise money, and so they just show the property, and they don't actually finish the questions that are outstanding. They don't deal with the objections. And so there's only 2 ways to think about it. One is that person just doesn't know that they need to be thorough in their analysis of the property, and so there's a level of, let's call it real estate ignorance, like you're just
Hmm.
unaware that that information is required to do a private lending deal, or you're lazy, or both. So to me, it's really an unfortunate circumstance because I do see this often. People will spend half an hour putting a presentation together, and then they want me to give them 300,000. Why in the world do you think you're going to get 300 grand when you put in half an hour on a project that you should have put in 2 hours in, meaning prepare
Mm.
your presentation, organize your facts, get your comparable sales. So real estate is one part information and another part competence. Your ability to communicate the value and the information is important. But then your work ethic to actually do the research and come up with all of the questions and answers before. Like if you're a real estate investor and you get caught off guard with questions about your deal, that's very unfortunate for you. That means you did not prepare yourself. So I believe life, just because I love speaking on stage, life is a matter of preparation and playing on stage. It's all preparation. You can tell who's prepared. You can tell who's not prepared. You can tell who was organized and studied. You could tell who wasn't. Like I'm not an A student in school. I'm more of a C student. I never did well in high school and grade school when it came to math and sciences and things. I just didn't really care. And so I didn't really apply myself. But when it comes to doing a presentation and it comes to selling for my business and I can raise 100,000 or 500,000 for a deal, I'm an A student. I will put in 3 hours, 4 hours. When it comes to raising money, doing deals, selling customers, it's hours of work. And I'm relentless about quality control. I want it to be the best work that I can provide. So I think
Yes.
I'm much more quality driven as an adult than I was a kid because in school I would get a grade. And to me, the grade didn't seem that significant. But as an adult, I get paid and getting paid
True.
is worth my effort. So for me, getting a grade, not worth the effort. For me, getting paid, worth the effort. So it depends on your value system, I would say.
Well, I agree on that one. That's very, very true what you're saying there. Because I know that everyone being prepared is what makes people trust you as well. 100% know your facts, have everything ready. If someone asks a question, don't hesitate, feel confident because confidence is a big part in what we do. And I know you as well with raising all that capital. So let's say your lenders were talking behind closed doors. What do you hope they say about you?
I hope my lenders say, wow, that guy really knows what he's talking about. Wow, that guy was extremely prepared for that meeting. Wow, that guy's obviously a hard worker, which is why he got a great deal.
Hmm.
Wow, what that guy has a great process. No wonder he's so successful. Wow, that guy has a great attitude. I really like him. Wow, that guy's truthful and transparent. I trust him. So I
Hmm.
think that's the definition of being a professional. Like
Yes.
you can be a pedestrian or a professional. You choose. A real estate investor as a pedestrian is not great. You're just not clear where to go, what to do. But as a professional, I already know the quality standard required to make it work. Now, the good news is, I think in Canada, there's a lot of pedestrian investors. Just don't know what they're doing. They don't have the experience. They don't have the right training. They're just kind of winging it because there seems to be this arrogance around real estate like anybody can buy rentals. They can, they just shouldn't. Anybody can do a flip. No, I don't think they can. Successfully doing a flip and successfully owning rentals is very different from just buying them. So I think of it this way. It's very easy to start with real estate investing. It's very hard to finish.
Hmm.
So it's not about getting your first deal. It's about did you build a meaningful business that you can get endless deals? And if so, then now you've won the game. And so we have to get away from like, oh, I just got to the starting line of this race. I want a trophy. You don't get a trophy for getting to the starting line. That's the starting line. And you don't get a trophy for putting on your shoes and doing your laces. You get a trophy when you finish. So I think we need better perspective as real estate people to not just say, oh, it's real estate. Anybody can do that. No, no, they can't. So I hope my lenders say, wow, that person, that's a person I want to do business with. I trust more than anything. My money is safe in their hands.
I agree. Definitely. I think anyone wants to hear that. They know that, they just ask, okay, when's the next deal? Please keep me up to date because they know what you bring is value. And the thing I know you've mentioned to us a lot of times is you told one of your previous mentors that you're going to become their best student yet, which you have. So, what's one thing your top students do differently from everyone else?
Great story. Great question. And yes, I've done this probably 2 or 3 times distinctly that I can think about where I've joined a group with the exact intent that I was gonna be the number one business athlete in that group, meaning I was gonna consume everything that I had to learn there. I was gonna do all the work, work harder than the other people, and I was gonna get to the top of the class. And so that's happened for me, and that's opened a lot of doors.
Mm.
So it's a fantastic question. I think it's this. When you join anything, you have an opportunity to build a new reputation within that circle of people, that group. If you join a mastermind, a coaching business, if you buy somebody's product, there's other people buying it as well. Your job, number one, is to win. You have to be successful in that group with the information that that group is sharing, with the service that they are providing. When you become a success story within a product, like any other product or service, what happens is the owners of that group start to say, that right there is my testimonial. Like, it goes back to our faith. Hey, make a testimony, have something to praise about, have something to shout about. Like, this product changed my life. This coach changed my life. This coach changed my thinking. This process changed my skill set. Like, I really leaned in. I went all of the way. And so it's the short word is commitment. Like, when you commit, you have to sacrifice other things to make this a priority. And so when you commit and you go all the way, and as long as, like, if the group is ethical and you're ethical, you're going to get to the top of that cultural economy. Within that culture, you're the top student. And so there's a tremendous amount of free publicity. There's a tremendous amount of internal promotion. There's a tremendous amount because what does the company want to do? They want to prove that their service or product works. And so what does the
Yes.
company need? Live proof and evidence. And so the best thing you can do when you join a community is become proof for
Mhm.
that community that what they teach, what they sell works. When you do that, the second part of that equation is this. I used to give all the credit to my coaches. Why? Because it's true, number one. Yes, I did the work, but I was doing work before I met them, wasn't I? I was thinking
Yes.
about business before I met those people. But me doing the work is work I would have done anyways. I would have spent 40 hours a week working anyways. But the distinction is I now did it under their supervision with their system. So
Hmm.
those are the two biggest factors I think in success with any coaching is the system and the supervision. You need both. You got to have a system that's better than what you're doing because it'll give you greater economies. And you got to have supervision to help you on the daily struggle, almost minute by minute struggle of trying to grow a business. There's a lot of decisions to make. And so we're just not qualified to make business decisions if we haven't done it. So join the group and be the best student, which means do the work, show up to the class, really be there. Number two, when you do the work, be a testimonial. And when you're a testimonial, then your job is to like share it, evangelize, let people know, hey, this group is amazing. I'm learning so much. I'm succeeding because of it. If you just do those couple of things, then the leadership in that group will say, we need to elevate that person. We need to promote that person, you know? And so that's the thing. It's sometimes people join a group and they go, well, I paid money to be here. And so I deserve success. What I would say to you is when you pay money to join a group, you have been allowed to enter the race. And so now you get to start with every other student. You're not entitled to the medal, just not how it works. Every group, every coaching thing, every strategy is a capitalistic type of approach. And so you have to leave all your negative baggage at the door. You have to give it your best heart and intentions and mind. And you have to come with a level of work ethic when you join that group that you have to persevere and you have to get it done. The group is nothing more than a reflection of your own perseverance. Because my belief is this a person like you, Rianka, you could join any group because of your level of perseverance, you would succeed in that strategy. And so you would become the best, and that's because you've chosen to be the best. It's a clear decision. And so that's how you win in a coaching community is by making a decision to join and be the best and be the proof and celebrate the community. And the second part of that is supporting. Every community wants to grow. Every
Yes.
community wants more members. And so back to the go-giver mentality. Are you bringing people in or are you kicking people out? Like, are you celebrating the
Mhm.
group and bringing people to the group where it's getting bigger, which is the goal of every group? Or are you detracting people, speaking negatively, talking about how unhappy you are with the lack of results? When friends ask you, you go, I don't know, it's okay. Like, that's the question. Are you bringing people in or are you taking people out? Right. And so when you bring
Mhm.
people in and that becomes your focus, again, it's an alignment. When you are aligned with the products and services you use and you become a testimonial and you share it, you will get all of the blessing and the benefit. Think of it another way. When you become a student of a coaching program in any business, real estate, whatever, it's actually a business to business relationship, even though it starts as a business to consumer because you're
Mm.
a consumer of that service and you're saying, well, I'm just buying this coaching service so I can grow my business. But if it works, then you become a business. And if you become a business, then you should look at the coaching community and say, they're a business. And so now it's a business to business relationship. They will help me grow my business if I help them grow their business. That's the way to perceive it. You're no longer a consumer once you have results. You're a business. And so you have to shift perspective from I'm just here to take the knowledge for my own personal benefit to we're doing a business deal. I'm going to help this community grow. And by that respect, that mutual respect, they're going to help me grow my business. That's the way this works for me. I've got so much publicity being on stages because I've had mentors pull me on stage and go, that's my best student. And so I've been able to meet incredible people because of that. I've been able to develop friends and following because of that. Everybody wants to know the secret. And so they look towards the most successful student. And even if they don't trust the product seller, the coach, the whatever it is, they go to the success story and the success person has credibility because they just did the thing. So it's a responsibility to wield. And when you do it the right way, it's complete alignment. Yeah, and so that's how you win in a coaching community, is you really make a clear decision to win and you push yourself and you challenge yourself. You are better off to be, you know, asking a million questions and creating, you're better off to push yourself to the point of stress and win than what most people do, which is they join and they secretly quit. They become apathetic, they quit, the work is hard, they get discouraged, they don't ask for help, they stop showing up, and so they silently quit. And then now they have to make a decision. Do they blame themselves or do they blame the coach, the product, the service? It's easier for the ego to blame someone else than to take accountability for your own lack of effort and ability. So, great question.
No, and I agree, Ben. Like, I think the biggest thing is you need to be coachable when joining a mentor because,
Mhm.
if you knew everything, you would have been successful already. So
Yeah.
you paid that money, listen to the advice and take it, And a lot of people, I think they always, but why this, but this, but this, instead of just doing what you're saying. And that's what I love is when I have a coach behind me, I do what they say
Mhm.
because you don't have a choice and you paid for this and you're going to get results if you listen. So, following up on that, doing this for a while, I assume you can already predict quickly which students will succeed and which ones won't. What are the signs that you constantly see as a repetitive pattern, basically?
And I think it's probably 80% of the time I can see that, and 20% maybe I'm surprised and somebody actually levels up. So I've been
Hmm.
very surprised on some occasions, but now after doing this for going on 8, 9 years, I have a pretty
Hmm.
good grasp quickly. And so number 1 is the level of buy-in. If a person joins the community and they really are all in, meaning their attitude is all in, their focus is all in, their commitment to showing up is all in, that is a huge indicator because they're fully committed. So decisiveness is a really important quality in any kind of real estate or business endeavor. You have to be decisive and say, I'm in, let's go. You cannot afford to be walking away and walking towards at the same time. It doesn't. You're either in or you're just out and you just happen to have a membership. See, your mind needs to be in. If you're like, I have this membership, but I'm kind of using it, you're not in, you're out because the effort required to do anything is going to be a full-time effort. You're not going to have full-time real estate results with part-time effort. It's not going to happen. So
Yep.
being fully committed. So it's like the decisive personality types. The people go, you know what, Ben, for the next 6 months, I'm going all in. I'm not quitting. All right. That one is huge to me. The second one is what I'm going to call attitude. Your attitude needs to be one of productive growth. If you're all in, and I have students that I've seen in the past who are fully committed, they come to every single call, but they have lived life with a glass half empty perspective. And so everything is like negative and difficult and hard. And so I'm a big believer of just reframing your thoughts. You have to literally say, regardless of what I feel, I'm here to win. And so I'm going to bring my A game to this conversation. And I might not feel like doing the work today, or I might not feel like I'm successful today, but success isn't a feeling, it's a fulfillment. When you do the work, you'll have progress. When you have progress, you'll have profits. When you have profits, you'll have the thing you want, which is the prize, which is financial freedom. And so it's not going to come without some level of sacrifice. And so you have to bring a level of attitude to the room, a level of behavior that's conducive of a person who's growing and productive. If your behavior is negative and complaining and whatever, you're just not going to succeed, nowhere near. You're going to create so much resistance to your own path. And then the next dynamic that I think is super important is this. Are you actually willing to listen and do before you understand? There's a lot of people who are waiting they want to be 100% confident, 100% understanding, 100% surety that it's going to work, and then they'll do. And so that's a completely broken system. It doesn't work. The whole idea, what's the perfect way to there's no perfect. You either get started or you don't. There's no perfect. There's only progress. So the people who need 100% certainty, by definition, they're not business owners. They're not entrepreneurs. People who need copious amounts of certainty are employees. And
Yes.
so in business, you have to choose. You can either have guarantees or you can have opportunities. You either have certainty or you have opportunity. You either have like it's a guaranteed outcome, or you have the volatility required to make opportunity happen, which is you need ups and downs in the market. You need risk. Risk is the thing that we need to understand and we need to lean into, because all risk isn't created equal. So I would just say to those people, they are not good students. Some people come into a coaching environment and they're like, I want to ask so many questions. And you're not asking questions because you are bought in. You're asking questions because you are trying to take the narrative or the process that somebody else has created, and you want to craft and adjust that process to suit your existing story. You want to take what somebody else has built, a system for success, and you want to change it and move it into your own version of risk tolerance. So to me, the word I have for that is obedience.
Hmm.
Straight obedience. You either do what you're told to do because it's good for you, or you reject doing what you're told to do and you drag out the process painfully. So those are some of the symptoms that happen. But it's, hey, Ben, I'm fully bought in. I'm going to commit for the next 6 months or 1 year. By the way, every community you join, you should give it a year of your time,
Yes.
which means a lot of people just wouldn't join communities because a lot of people want to give something 2 weeks of their time and they want to get instant results. And they have a really unrealistic expectation of business and life. They're immature in their thinking. And then once you've given it that, bring your best attitude to every single call. And number 3, shut up and listen and do it. Take the risk that somehow your coach is right. Like if I tell a student, I need you to go find me 10 properties and we're going to underwrite them. And, well, I don't want to find 10 properties. Well, why don't I just find 5 properties? Rebellion even looks like other people think that their version of the process is better. So somebody will say, what if I find 20 properties? You're a rebellious student. I didn't tell you to find 20. I told you to find 10. You're creating resistance by creating your own story. You think that you're being a better student because you're going over and above. But if I thought you needed 20, I would tell you to get 20. And so it really comes down to listening and trusting. So I have students who, I think like you are great listeners and you do it. And even though you stress about the work, you've had phenomenal results. And you've had phenomenal results just because you're a better student. You're way more coachable. You listen, you do the work, you show up, you're committed. And so it's not a matter of lottery tickets. You didn't win the student success lottery. You've done the work. I have other people who show up to calls, they just don't do half the work. Or I've had other people in the past who show up to calls and they challenge everything. And they mask it as, I need to understand. No, you want to change it. You want to adjust the strategy to suit a different narrative that you've created. And because you're trying to do that, you are watering down success. And so you're going to get sloppy success. And so that's what we have to think about is there is a clear path and it's not up for discussion, right? Like there's only one way to make this recipe makes this cake. We don't need you to throw other ingredients or water ingredients or save money by having cheaper ingredients. All of the changes you make will violate the recipe. So I believe success really is fundamentally a proven system. And when you found somebody who has a proven system and a proven track record, and they have students following that same system right now getting results, you have zero reason to question if it works. You just have to make it work.
Oh, I love that. Just have to show up and make it work, be there and really actually care. Because this is a question I wanted to ask you for a while, actually. Before you've met me, I was working a full-time job, raising the three little girls, managing type 1 diabetes, and I've never, ever completed a real estate deal. So, what did you see in us that made you believe that we could succeed before we even had any results?
People who succeed, they take things seriously. So when I meet somebody who comes to join our group and they're really contemplating and they're really thinking about it and they're really weighing the pros and the cons. You wouldn't be conflicted if you weren't going to take it serious. Some people join willy-nilly and they make a commitment that's half-hearted. They're like, "Oh yeah, I'm in." No, it was an emotional response and you really were like, "Oh, this is great. Now I found the answer to riches and success. Yeah, I'm all in. Let's go." That's not commitment. That's emotions. I prefer people who struggle with the decision and then make it. Because if you struggle with the decision and then make the decision, you've taken the time to toil over it and you've taken the time to like deal with the burdens of both sides of the spectrum, doing it and not doing it. Both have a burden, right? Doing it is the burden of work, not doing it is the burden of not having results. And so it's one or the other. And so that's piece number one is like you have to be willing to toil with the decision because it's a serious one. And so when you toil with the decision and you make a commitment, that part is huge. It's instrumental in success. We've all toiled. One of my very first coaching commitments was a $10,000 thing, and I wasn't willing to pay the money. And so I had to sleep on it. And my coach is like, "It's only 10 grand." And I had the 10 grand. I just didn't want to do it. I'm like, "I don't need this. I can do it on my own, blah, blah, blah." And then my wife said, "Look how far you've come on your own." She says, "I can't coach you. I haven't done what you're trying to do. And look how far you've come on your own." And then she said, "Imagine how much further you could go if you actually had a coach instead of basically talking to your friends and family all day about what you want to do." And it was a complete light bulb. It's like, that is so true. I'm talking to people who don't know. Yes, I am very capable, but imagine how much more I could have done up until this point if I just had the right person in my corner. And so I understood profoundly the value of a coach. To a person who's actually like willing to do the work and you have some results on your own, a coach is the most valuable thing you can have. Your results so far aren't proof that you don't need a coach. They're proof that you would actually use one. You can
True.
you can multiply your outcomes when you have a coach because you have a lot less uncertainty. That's really what a coach is here to provide, less uncertainty. So number one is a really, really keen decision that you have to toil over. It's like making a good song. I make music. And so I don't use AI to make my music because it doesn't mean anything then. There's no value to it if I just throw it into a machine. But when I toil over the lyrics and I toil over the composition, I toil over it and I struggle with it and I stress about it and I have my songwriting partner, when we finally create something we like, we love it because we've worked towards it. And the toiling is what makes it valuable. It's the stress, right? It's the level of energy expended is what makes something valuable. number one. Number two, I think it's really important when you have a faith forward mindset. And so you and your husband, Heinrich, have a faith forward mindset, and you are immigrants, moved to a new country, have three daughters, you have your life, right? And you are willing to do what it takes by faith to make it happen. And so it wasn't a question to me of if you're going to succeed. You've already succeeded. Think about what you've done already in life and how far you've already come. Like the proof is in your experience. What makes me think you wouldn't also succeed in this? If you could succeed in what you've done, why couldn't you succeed in this? So when you look at a person who has had the ambition to do hard things, they'll continue having ambition to do hard things. So a faith forward person who is like has success in life will also have success in other things. And so if I have to pick one more thing, it's you have to have a big enough reason to succeed. And so when you have three little girls and you're pressed with a decision, like, hey, I'm on mat leave right now and I have to go back to work unless I figure it out. I really respect people with clear deadlines. I have to figure it out in 6 months or I go back to work. See, now we take the obscure and the desire and we turn it into a practical SMART goal, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic timeout. We need a specific, measurable goal. And so now it becomes a business game. Can we create enough income and opportunity in your business in 6 months so that you don't have to go back to work? Yes or no? If you don't give yourself a timeline, you don't give yourself a real, tangible challenge with the deadline, it becomes too arbitrary. And so, again, back to starting versus finishing. Starting is, I'm going to start with real estate coaching. Finishing is, I have 6 months to figure this out. I have to figure it out or I have to go back to work. When you take those things, to me, it wasn't a matter of if you guys could do it. It was a matter of if I just give you the right support, you guys will do it. No shadow of a doubt, no fear. I believe every single student, if they come with that level of understanding, mindset, willingness, they can crush real estate. Real estate isn't hard. I think we as people are just not hard enough.
No, I appreciate that, Ben. Thank you so much for saying that. And yes, like I say, we always make it harder than it is. If you actually, that's why I always emphasize if you have a why that's big enough, then nothing can stop you. Because yes, there's going to be days where you want to give up, where you doubt, but then you just look back and you say, this is why I started. I've come so far. I can't quit now. Then you've done all of that hard work for nothing. And I know one of your you built an entire philosophy around speed, speed to lead. Why does speed matter so much? Not only in business, but in life as well to you.
So I had a mentor years ago. His name is Judge, and he wrote a book called Scale with Speed. And I had the opportunity of working with Judge, and what I come to learn is that my natural predisposition is to get things done quickly because I'm rather impatient to begin with. And so I've learned a while ago that if I lean into my strengths and I can take what looks like a negative in a lot of social circumstances and in business is actually a net benefit. So oftentimes the things that we have, the characteristics that socially are not maybe good, like impatience socially is probably not good. Impatience in your business will force you into actions and decisiveness is good. So I believe business is a series of just really aggressive forward failures. And so what I've learned in life is that the faster you fail, is the faster you learn, and the faster you learn is the faster you optimize, and the faster you optimize is the faster you create profit. So I think for most people, what they do is they fail too slowly, and then that's also painful. Like if I'm gonna rip a Band-Aid off, I wanna just rip it off quickly and move on with life. It's gonna sting anyways. The waiting and the prolonging of pain, I think, is what kills a business. It's a business owner who becomes uninspired. The growth is too slow. They're not happy with what they're doing. They're not really pushing or scaling. And so eventually they just get discouraged and disengaged and they quit the business. And so when you run at stuff instead of walk at stuff, you get to really experience it in its full effect. Kind of like I don't want to go to a amusement park and sit on the super like slow ride that's like you would quit after one ride. Like you wouldn't want to
Yeah.
do that. So there's a thrill to going fast, but I think what there is that there's a power to going fast because you can plow through the problems. That's what I've kind of learned. Don't sit in the pain. Don't sit in the complacency and the agony. And so I've developed this really high sense of urgency on all things business because of this. And over the years, it's served me very well. So I don't have to win because I'm the best negotiator, but if I'm the most urgent negotiator, and that's a huge value that I offer the seller in that case. Like, hey, I want to do the deal right now. Let's go. And there's a percentage of people who really resonate with that because why? When somebody has pain, they want to stop it quickly. When a seller has pain, when a customer has pain, they want to stop it quickly. And so urgency is the answer. So I've learned speed on everything matters. Go fast. The immaturity is this. Well, if you go fast, you're going to break things. I know. See, I'm a disruptor. I'm gonna break things. That's the whole point. And I want to break it so quickly that by the time my competition realizes what I'm breaking, I've already fixed it and built it and optimized it by the time they even get started. So there's a benefit to working fast. And in Scale with Speed, the kind of whole mantra is push everything around you to do things that would otherwise seem impossible. And so optimize quickly, push quickly, get to the next level quickly, fix the problem quickly, hire quickly, fire quickly, like do it quickly, do it now, don't do it later. Because tomorrow I'll have a whole new series of problems. And so today I can solve 5 problems and tomorrow I can solve 5, or today I can solve 1 and tomorrow I can solve 1. That still means I've solved 2 problems instead of 10 problems. So my approach over the years, I used to just run around all day doing different things. And so the problem with going fast is you're not always in alignment to the overall vision because you end up being a grinder and not an aligner. And so today, I've learned to not grind it out, but to align it out. So take time to really have clear vision for what you want. Figure out who's going to be involved in that vision, who are the stakeholders of your vision, and then operate with urgency, speed, and precision. Doing it that way, you get to become the Navy SEAL of real estate and business building. If you don't do it that way, then you're the baby SEAL, just hanging around all day, right? Sucking on blubber,
Yeah.
right? So that's not going to help.
True. No, and I like that. And like I said, I have also lost so many opportunities in life because I wasn't quick enough, or I had ideas and I didn't act on it fast. Someone else did it. And then I was afraid to do it too because I'm afraid I'm copying them. So now my main focus is Rianka, if you have that in your mind, do it. And
Sure.
then after this thing, what legacy do you hope people talk about when your real estate career is over? What do you want to leave behind?
Real estate to me is a way to create money. I don't think in terms of a real estate legacy. The
Hmm.
legacy is the people that you've impacted along your way. I really believe contribution is the reason we're on this earth. Like, what is your purpose here? Real estate has been a vehicle that has given me a microphone. And so when you have a microphone, what are you responsible to do with it? Just like when we started here, both of our dads are preachers. And so for me, real estate is just another form of a church, meaning it's an opportunity to share the things I've learned in a practical way to help people financially. And then I get to share the other parts of my life, my faith and how I do my relationships, etc. So I don't think there's a real estate legacy. That's just money. And money's great. My daughter will have a life where she can have all the cereal boxes that she wants. She's never gonna have to ideally drive the '94 Dodge Caravan with no insurance to save money, and so she won't have those same challenges. She won't have those same predispositions. She won't know what it's like to, kinda be an immigrant and do all this stuff. So she'll have different challenges to deal with. And so the money is the money. She'll have enough money to do what she wants to do. So their legacy is not money and the legacy is not real estate. The legacy is how many other moms and dads was I able to help also impact their kids' lives as well, you know? Because then that's the thing. It's the number of people you've been able to help along the journey. And so I'm building the biggest stage with the biggest microphone that I can get to help the most amount of people in my lifetime. When you live that way, every single day is an opportunity to help and serve. And there is no retirement and there is no quitting and there is no slowing down because slowing down means, slowing down your progress of helping and impacting people. I believe I've been given a very strategic mindset that I've learned how to use that strategy. I think God gives us all different gifts and talents. One of mine is like having a very strategic mindset that loves leverage. And so I believe I can help a lot of people build a microphone and a stage, and all of those people will have great impact like you. So it's less about me at the center of my own legacy and more about the things I felt obedient to do. And frankly, if we get to the end of my life, I'd rather not have a huge celebration in terms of I don't need a trophy and I don't need a badge of honor and I don't need to be paraded around as some type of hero. What I want to do is the things I feel called to do. And the only person, the only entity that I'm responsible to is God Almighty. And so if I stand before God one day and he says, "You've done everything I asked you to do," that's the legacy. Everything else on this earth is going to be an impact or a derivative of that outcome. So it's not about the money. It's about the things that we are supposed to do when we're alive. Once you have money and once you have time freedom, you'll learn this. Everything is about purpose. That's it. Once you have money, once you have time, the only thing left is who am I? Why am I here? What am I called to do? And that will be the resonating thought that drives all of your activities going forward.
No, I love that as well because, like I said, you always want, if you can only change one person's life, I think that's already such a big accomplishment and you feel good because your story impacted someone. So, in this case, Ben, I think you have helped so many people become successful and us as well. We appreciate what you are doing for us. And hopefully, we can fill your shoes one day. But for now, we really appreciate that. And all of us know your dad, Pastor Bill. So he has left a lot behind, Romania to give a better future for his family. When you look back at your life today, what do you hope makes him most proud of you?
That's great. Well, so my dad set the core values and my mom, both of them set the core values
Yes.
for our family. So I believe a legacy is when you pass down the ideas, you pass down the values generation to generation. So they taught us how to be the kind of people we are, how to love people, how to be kind, how to live in faith. And so they really set that value system so that we can take that value system into other things like business and finance and money and those types of things. I think the most impactful thing I can do for my family, my dad, my mom, is to continue their evangelical ministry. Like when they started, they were younger, they used to go around Romania preaching the
Mm.
gospel and trying to pray for people and help people. And so we're just doing that in a different arena, but it's the same overarching idea. Love on people, help people, pray for people, provide provision to people, teach them how to become resourceful for themselves. And so it's the ministry is bigger than the money, and that's the beauty of having a business after you've already created some success, is that the business is really a business and it's a ministry. It's an impact and a ministry. It's it's both. You get to have your cake and eat it too. You get to create income and impact. So
Mm.
that's what it is. It's the impact we get to create, it's the stories we get to touch, it's the people that we get to meet and encounter along the way and have influence with. So I think that that's dad's legacy, is that through his son, he gets to reach a lot of people through the same core values that he gave me.
And I can be super proud of you. I think your dad and mom has done an amazing job, and I think it's every child's dream to somehow give back to their parents as well one day. So we want to get all of our family here eventually so we can have them close, and we believe that is going to happen rather sooner than later. And back again to this, doing hundreds of deals, raising over $40 million, and coaching countless students and building an incredible life for your family. If your children and grandchildren were listening to this podcast 50 years from now, what's the one lesson you'd hope they remember about how to live their lives?
I would say God made you to live in purpose, to live by faith, and to be accountable for your actions. You don't need to make me proud, make him proud.
Short and sweet. There we go. I love it. No, that is so, so true because he's the only one that gets to judge us and tell us, how life is going to be. So before we wrap up, Ben, I wanted to personally just thank you. You took a chance on me before I had any results. You believed in me before I believed in myself. And you've not impacted only my life and my family's life, but you've impacted so many because of your coaching. And because of your coaching, we got to leave our jobs, both me and my husband, build our business, complete multiple deals, and create opportunities we once only could dream about. And for that, me and my family are forever grateful. So, if there's one thing that you could tell every person listening to this podcast today to remember, what would it be?
I would say success is absolutely here for you, and you can do this. You can succeed. You can have the financial freedom that you've dreamed about. It's not impossible and it's not a lottery ticket. It's a decision. I would say decide today with conviction, with belief, with great energy that you can become successful and take the steps. Get a coach, get help, push yourself. Just follow the Rianka roadmap. I think you've done a fantastic job being obedient to the work, making a commitment when it was hard. And so I think if people who listen to you follow the Rianka roadmap, they'll have the same success because it's proven and you're proof. And so thank you for being an incredible testimony for what happens when people step up, they do the work, they operate by faith, and they get the results. So just follow Rianka. She's the avatar, the hero that you need. She's the role model that you need in your life if you're trying to create financial freedom.
Thank you for that, Ben. That means a lot. I hope to be a role model to many people and help as many as I can. And thank you for your leadership and continuing to show people what's possible when faith meets action. And just for other people out there wanting to dive into real estate and actually see how you do things and get things done, what is the best way that they can get a hold of you or get contact? Where can they come and view live what you are doing?
Yeah, you're going to want to join one of our online events. We have the Canadian Real Estate Revival. We also have the Immigrant Investor event. You can follow me on Instagram at Ben Humble. I think it's Ben Humble underscore. And come connect, come get plugged into our community. We have a lot of great things happening. It's awesome to see our students getting success. You know, our core value really is student success. And so we're trying to push to make sure that this community is growing, doing deals, finding financial prosperity, and then being able to share that with other people. So I encourage you, get plugged in, come and join the community, and come actually spend some time with us. You're going to love it.
We'd love to see everyone there. Thank you again for your time, Ben, and for joining us. I appreciate it a lot. And thank you to everyone out there listening to another episode of She Holds Her Keys. If this conversation inspired you, challenged you, or gave you a new perspective, be sure to subscribe, share this episode with someone who needs to hear it, and please leave a review. Until next time, keep showing up, keep taking action, and remember, the future belongs to those willing to turn the key. We'll see you on the next episode.
She's right.